Hey guys, welcome to Sopi Studio Umbiamas, conectando Aruba com o mundo via vídeo podcasting. Conectar conosco, compartilhar ideias e histórias para nos inspirar e para nos abrir. Sopi Studio é plataforma de podcast na Aruba. Follow-nos no Facebook, subscribe no YouTube ou na plataforma de podcast preferida. Escute o podcast preferido que hora e onde está. Sopi Studio, powered by Qredits. Botiu ideia? Qredits educa e prepara abo para vir um empresário exitoso. De business plan, guia personal e préstamo para negócio até com 100.000 florim. Vira bom mês donho com Qredits. Sopi. Passa na Sopi para o sop, salada, wrap ou flatbread e mais fresco. Com 7 localidades rond Aruba. Nós está cerca de Ibo. Sopi. SwingMasterz. Organizando events, conferences of weddings, mister de luz, sound, staging, DJ, trussing of LED screen, SwingMasterz está claro para ser boa fiesta éxito. SwingMasterz. E agora, Sopi Studio é plataforma de podcast de Aruba, está apresentar.
Boa noite.
Boa noite.
Bye. Welcome na Cacho Spierto, de 4 edição. Então, assim ali é como mestre pontrabo. Welcome shona auita. Hobby interessante a trobe, pero prometo que nós também dive in. Ja, eigenlijk lokaal matende a Melissa tá com hende como se seguimos, pero ainda não sabe quem nós está Kico é programa que tá, to?
Sim, pessoal, pensa até agora que não turnos tópico não tá bastante diverso. Dus
é hora me mensagem sabe? Sei to nos sonido não de cacho. Não, lega me explica viaja mais pessoas que não há é promoção, uma nossa como se introduzir nos mês. Cacho Spierto é eigenlijk een watchdog. Kico nos quer haci, nos quer manera, bambisa, Kico está andando dentro da comunidade, pero certo tópico que não está hora atendi of de forma, nós estamos aqui teste de lante e de uma forma, pensei também damos intro de uma forma maneira fair em sentido que claro nós está crítico, pero nós quer estar fair, dus nós dando outra gente também chance of teste de lante de outra banda informação, pero de outra banda nós estamos aqui independiente, dus que men que nós não está pagar of sponsor, botar o que se aqui não, pero a nós mesmos está assim voluntariamente, pero que men que de forma independiente, dus é toevallig, me mestre visa assim, me doctor está aqui não, pero I don't have any shares in your clinic. Just confirm, please.
There are no shares.
No shares. So for
you have a clinic.
To sell.
You have a clinic?
No, he doesn't even have that. But
I work for the hospital.
Yes. So we don't have nos nota maneliana nada. Per se nos potres informação também independiente. Set hoopje importante was so bo por papel di objetivo subjetivo, pero torhine ting su mes un context, bo chiarta mas objetivo possível co hecho nan.
Sim, pero nós focus sobre ribata crítico pro fair, nel sentido di tur parti di bambisa differente ângulo, nós por bawak un tópico. Então, me te quer dizer assim que nos programa torto um tiki outro e vorale parte de independente.
Sim.
Mas é para bebisa.
Sim, tem bastante programa que tem hobby interesse sutras. Cinco você. Dus sempre se tem algo maneira nós estamos tendo seção normalmente que é de 3 apresentador Leon Henriques que não tem pessoa com vakantie, pero as essay não está agora pagadas para você usar, dus estamos independente. Kico nos haci entre outros nos haci diferente tópico, pero viaja passando nós tem mais interessante mesmo de holo misterioso. Tem nos não eigenlijk vista completo Kico tá, pero me quer garantir bozo nós também quer seguir e dado momento nós também haya sa Kico eta causa ting mas país que tinha problema aí. Pero ma compreendemos ali se botar me haya reaction back.
Sim, mas mas ele hopi interessante patende que seguinte dia na rádio na programa que hende por yama, diferente hende yama e eigenlijk haci bespreekbaar die kunan tambe tari para ehulo ikiko eta te ainda nos nosa. Anto tambe mahaya reaction ku na Suriname tambe et tambe te comfort ding supermarket na Chines e ku tampoco na nosa pero enang ora di pundra na de bise ku portata modballen dus denk ik per ainda anan tampoco nosa a mí nosa si porta Dr. Shabit Rahamat you're from Suriname, right?
Yeah.
So perhaps maybe you can tell us what are your experiences with this. Our last episode, we talked about the mysterious smell that you find in Chinese supermarkets, that we don't know what it is, but once you step into a supermarket, you immediately recognize the smell, and it even goes through some of the products that you buy.
You can even taste it.
Yes.
Have you it's a lot of supermarkets from
But do you mean like a chemical smell?
Yeah, it's like it's like I associate it with a cleaning smell. I don't know what it is, but to me it's kind of a cleaning smell. So have you experienced that in Suriname?
I think all stores have kind of a smell, and the chemical smells you usually have to do with cleaning products, I think mostly. I think there are strict regulations enough to make sure that it's not something that's involved with products or with food even. So then logically I would have to say it has to do with some form of cleaning or construction or something like that.
Yeah, but you don't know. We don't know. That's what we
No.
told last last time, that we are still anticipating on an investigation from the government, from the hygiene department. But they promised that already in 2016, because it's not only like in the stores, but it's also I even went to stores and did some investigation, and it's sometimes it makes you even nausea. So and you taste it also, so it's into the food. But we talked long about that.
Yes,
maybe
that is not the episode
yes, but
today.
thank you for the reactions. If you have more, if you have a tip or you want to comment, you can also mail us at cachospierto@gmail.com. So feel free. Also, if you want us to investigate other topics,
Let us know.
yeah,
Yes.
but thank you, and I'm very it's great to hear that local radio is picking us up. Why are we switching to English? We can switch to Dutch also, but we prefer to do it in English because I think for the audience, the Dutch is the fourth language. We have to say that it's becoming a dead language here. But I would like to introduce us to the Dr. Shabit Rahamat, and he is our let's say endocrinologist. I don't know, how do you say that in English?
Endocrinologist.
Almost the same.
Yeah.
And papiamento endocrinologo. I think so. Yes. And
Yes.
it's a difficult name, and I think, but it's literally a specialist that has a lot to do of almost with hormones.
Yeah.
Yeah. Welcome. Why have we invite you? Because first of all, we're always talking about this. I think because we've experienced something with that. For me, it was something that I personally got involved when I got in 2018. I got they told me a burnout, but that wasn't the case. I will talk to that later on. But it's very important, and why for me it was also an eye opener. Sometimes you get sick, and it's an eye opener, and even you learn a lot from it. And I think for me it was amazing to hear that you have 3 central systems that govern your body, that's ruling your body, everything, and 2 of them are very well known. The first of all is your nervous system, and you see a lot of neurologists walking around. It's in the hospital everywhere, so you know about them. And the second one is, of course, your immune system. Now with the COVID and everything, a lot of people know, oh, my immune system is important. You've got lots of things in talking about, like boosting your immune system. You have a lot of immunologists. I think it's that the Dutch word or English word.
Yeah, But
Yeah.
there aren't really any. It's a separate specialism. It's a super specialism,
Yeah.
and mostly because we do not treat something of the immune system ourselves. It's a rare disease if it's something related to the immune system, and it's then correlated to the specialist that it's involved with. For example, if it's something that attacks the kidneys primarily, then it's the nephrologist who treats that.
Yeah.
And if there's some rare disease of the immune system that attack the lungs, then it's the pulmonologist.
Yeah.
So there isn't a general immunologist that treats all the diseases.
But you see them, you see the nephrologists, you see them here, we have them. But
Yeah.
for me, it was amazed to hear that you are the first, and I don't know the first in the history, but for sure for a long time, and the only one in your field on Aruba.
Yeah.
And how I'm so surprised because the third, of course, central system is our hormone system, and that really involves a lot from your brain to your gut to your everything. And so can you explain something about that? Introduce yourself, and also how important are you?
Now, like you've already started, people know very well if something happens to your brain, it's serious, right? Nobody jokes about that. And if someone has something on their heart, that's also the same thing. But the hormones are also very important. And not to state that every problem is related to the hormone system, but there are certain hormones that you cannot live without. It's very important to know which those are and what kind of complaints they can give, so you do not have any delay when something happens.
But why are you the only one on this island? I mean, is this...
Aruba is a small island, and I think the 100 or 120,000 counting people.
Something about.
And diseases of the hormone system are very rare. So I see patients with very rare diseases. They're not very common, and that's why there isn't an acute reason before to have an endocrinologist. But now that I am here, the patients that do have hormonal problems, those are enough to fill my outpatient clinic. But for example, a second endocrinologist is not needed.
Okay.
So you say that we don't have a population that has a lot of problems with hormones?
No, I'm not saying that because
I think before I think you kind of skipped a step right there.
What step?
Because first of all, can you explain you deal with hormones, but for the perception of people on Aruba, usually when you think about hormones, you think about my thyroid. Or my thyroid, but you also think about menopause. You think about
Every month your menstruation.
You know, but preparing for this episode, I actually saw that there are a lot of different hormones. So what do you focus on? What are the main hormones that you focus on?
Good question, Melissa.
the
You
picture,
back to the basic.
Yes, just break it down to me.
Yeah.
The picture that I sent, that's
the first visual. Okay.
That's this
so
is
what are we seeing?
This is only to illustrate that the brain is very big, as you can see, and then at the very the below part of the brain, there's a little thing hanging.
It's about the size of a pea, right?
Yeah, half a centimeter, so very small. And that's like the headquarters of the hormone system.
Okay.
And it's just to show you how small it is and that it's below the brain.
Yeah, so a lot of people think, okay, so your hormones are in your brain.
Yeah,
so that's what
Oh.
They're
Yeah, I'm just
if you
asking.
skip to the next picture, then I can explain it.
Could we do that? Yes.
So this is a complex picture, but don't worry. What you need to do is visualize.
This is the P, right?
Yeah.
Is this the P?
At the top.
Okay, the top. That's the gland.
Yeah.
Okay.
What you need to do is just visualize 3 lines, 3 horizontal lines, and place on the top line the brain. The brain, in its bottom function, the hypothalamus, that sends hormones or other hormones, just a signal, nothing more. It sends hormones to the pituitary gland. That's the little P structure.
Okay.
Place the P structure on the second line.
Okay.
And place on the third line all the other organs you see at the bottom. So the adrenaline gland, the thyroid, the breast, bones, the testicles, and the ovary. So you have then 3 lines with number 1 again, the brain, the hypothalamus. The second, the P, the pituitary gland, and in the bottom line you have the end organs. And that's the hierarchy of the hormone pathway.
And that's what it's called, the endocrine system, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's one of the central systems.
Yeah.
And why is it the central system?
Because it's from the brain.
Okay. No, just asking me.
No.
Yeah.
And it regulates that P structure. That regulates that central and the second line. That regulates the biggest part in the immune system, or sorry, the endocrine system, because it sends hormones, otherwise signals, to the brain and to the end organs. So it's very complex in its regulation. And if something goes wrong there, then you can imagine that there will be problems, because that's the most complex structure. And there are different kind of hormones produced from all those 3 lines. And they're different in the sense of some are very important and some are less important. In the sense, if you have a low production of them, you won't notice anything. One example is if all of us would have a decreasement in the growth hormone, it's not an issue because we really don't need it. It's only in a very, very low level present. And it has some basic functions, but overlapping functions with other hormones. So when it's gone at this age, you really don't notice anything.
Yeah, because I wanted to ask about that, because I read somewhere that you can actually say a hormone is kind of a chemical messenger.
Yeah.
And that it affects physiological activities such as growth and puberty, appetite, fertility, metabolism. But while I was reading this, I was thinking, okay, but growth at some point, it affects it. So that's not really, at some point, it's not, for example, it's not relevant to me because I'm not going to grow anymore, I hope. And, but thinking about metabolism and appetite, I'm thinking, okay, that's something that really affects everybody. And I think that's something that's constant.
Yeah. So those are the hormones that are important. 2 of what I think are the most important hormones for every living older human being are the thyroid function, and the adrenaline gland. And the adrenaline gland is the most important one.
Okay, and the thyroid, that's schildklier.
Yeah.
Do you know in papiamento what's schildklier?
Thyroid.
Thyroid? Okay.
We will say something in Spanish, I think.
Okay.
I don't know. It's no word in papiamento for it.
Okay.
But I know that for the adrenaline gland, because the thyroid is here. Where is the adrenaline gland?
It's above the kidney. Yeah. It's a very small, also like almost pea-like structure on the kidney.
Yeah. Okay. But let's begin. Going back to the basics. We had like a point of view. That you are your hormones. So I am my hormones, you are my hormones, and I mean, I'm different than you or something because of my hormones. What do you think about that?
I think it's something not everyone can say. For example, I always think a little further because let's say your hormones you don't have any hormonal problems. That would then the title wouldn't say much. But if you have a fast-working thyroid or you have a very slow-working adrenaline gland, then you have a big problem. And then you would say that's your essence. That's who you are. But I try to tell patients they are not their diseases or problems. So you are more than just one system. The humans are very complex, and that's only if you're looking at the physical level. It's already too complex. There are too many systems involved, and then we also have to our mental and spiritual level. So to say you had that we are only our hormones is, I think, a small spectrum of what we are really all about.
Yeah.
We're too broad.
Because they told me that. That's why I meant. That's why I did this.
That's
They
an
told
easy
me.
answer,
Yeah.
I think, for them to give you at that moment.
Yeah, because everybody has like if you look at, for example, for you have a thyroid problem, they say to you, okay, you have a specific like numbers of the T, like we saw also on the picture, the T4 and T3. I don't know anymore, but you have everyone has a different value, but you don't know it because you're not testing that when you are well. And you only know it when you're not well. So I was just wondering if everybody has their specific number. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
no,
is it in a way then
But
that's...
is that do you have a, because I mean you measure something, so there has to be a certain standard to be measured.
There's a reference range.
Yes.
There's not only in hormones, a lot of things in your blood are when they are measured, you have a reference range, and that's because it differs per individual. Red blood cells, white blood cells, your kidney electrolytes, all those kind of things have a variable level, and the same with the hormones. And indeed, sometimes in, for example, the thyroid function, let's say the TSH, that's the signal that's produced from the pituitary, the small pea-like gland, to the thyroid. Ideology, the number 1 is perfect, but most people are above 1 and 4, 2, 2.5, and sometimes when you give someone thyroid hormone as replacement and you're measuring your TSH value, you would measure in the blood a normal level, and the patient would still have complaints. That's why it's important to listen to your patient, because then you can decide if it's a sign that the hormone substitution is too low or too much. But also take into account, like I just said, we are more than one system, and you can have many kinds of complaints from other systems or other problems, not only physical but also mentally, because it's one system, and it's then very important to not easily discard all those complaints someone's telling to the thyroid function. And if you're really listening, then you can understand if a patient has another focus for their problems.
Okay, but because what you're saying now, because people actually come when they don't feel well. So that means that actually their hormones are in disbalance, right? But looking at symptoms for some of the symptoms or diseases that you have that are hormonal, when I looked at the symptoms, some of them are very common in other diseases.
They're very broad complaints.
Yes, it's
like tiredness.
Yeah.
For example, almost all the hormonal problems, you can have tiredness as a main complaint. But like you were saying, if people complain of tiredness, someone can also say, oh, you have a burnout. Or someone could say, oh, you have a sleep disorder. Or it's very broad.
So how do I know if I'm a patient, whether or not my hormones are in disbalance?
I think it starts with if you have a persistent problem, then it's an indication that something's not going well. Mostly things are not permanent. So if you measure you're getting better, or you're taking up the habits you were before, and for example, you have in this case you had COVID, you're tired. It can be from that, and you're keeping tired because you're not able to better your conditioning like before. You're mostly in the house, you're not going out, you're not running or something like you used to before. And if you are running again and doing everything again and getting better, then you don't have to worry, and it takes time to get better. But if you really try those things and measure it's something, nothing's changing, something is wrong, you go to your house doctor and you tell that story. And the house doctor...
That's what I want to ask you. You go to the house doctor, and how many times does the house doctor think something has to do with your hormones? Do you think it's...
He has... Like I said, the chance that it's something with your hormones is very small. So he starts excluding other main causes. For example, like an infection somewhere, or a glucose problem, or that there's a lot of stress involved after something serious that happened.
Then I wonder, because if you say there's a lot of stress, that means I'm making a lot of stress hormones.
Yeah, that's healthy.
That's healthy.
Yeah, that.
So me being stressed out is healthy.
Now, you need...
When does it become a problem?
When, like everything, when it's persistent, it's taking too long. Stress is good for everyone. It's something that makes you aware. It's something that helps you with the situation. But if you're stressed all day, all the time, then something's not going well. Then, for example, you are not happy at your job, or someone is mistreating you at your job. That's why you have that kind of stress. But if it's stress from a project or something, that's normal. It's help you to get over that project. And your question about the house doctor, so they start excluding the most common causes. And if you see that that's not the case, and at the second or third visit the patient still complains about the same things or has progressive complaints, then you need to think further. And
do they think further, do you think, here?
I
is
think
there
so,
enough?
Because otherwise I wouldn't have any referrals.
No, I mean, but it is. I don't know on the Aruba situation, but I know from other countries that hormones are. It's not like something that a lot of house doctors are trained sufficiently to say, and then you see it, because if a doctor doesn't send you for a certain blood test, they don't know, so you can go on with those complaints of like general complaints like tiredness for a long time, or in my case, for example, they say it's a burnout.
I think if I compare myself to 10 years ago, then it was very important, or it was a very cool lesson if it ended with think of the thyroid. Because nobody was thinking about it. But now it's not that new anymore. It's something that's gotten into the standard package. And like I said, there are two hormones that are very important. That's the thyroid. And I think that's screened a lot. That's not something the house doctor misses. And the other very important hormone, the adrenaline hormone, the cortisol, to say it like it is, the chance of that being abnormal or dysfunctional is very rare. To put it in numbers, I think it varies from 1 in the 20,000 to like 1 in 100 to maybe 400,000, depending on the region. Mm-hmm. So that's not something for the house doctor to exclude standard in its package, because the chance of it being that is very, very small. But I do notice that house doctors also are thinking about it, because the adrenaline hormone has gotten more attention because people are using more steroids for the skin. And those are actually adrenaline hormones.
Steroids for the skin?
Yeah, when you have skin inflammation or things like that, then they get glucocorticoids. Or and those can interrupt your own system if you take them too long, and that awareness has gotten attention under a lot of doctors. So I do notice now more than before that people are thinking about it and asking me those questions.
And what about the food? Has food some influence on your hormones?
Okay, to start off easy. Mm-hmm. If you do not get any food, if you're anorexic or in a region where there's no food, then you will have hormonal problems. For example, you need your cholesterol, your vitamins to produce hormones. So if you're in a state of deficiency, then certainly you will have those. But if you use products with hormones also, then you can imagine that can also cause problems. And one simple example of the past is now it's regulated how much iodine goes into our diet, into bread, for example, to make sure that we have enough of it to produce thyroid hormone. But couple of, I think 50 or 100 years ago, or even in some regions now, that's not regulated, and iodine is deficient for some people, and that results in a direct problem to produce thyroid hormones. So if you eat healthy and balanced, I think there's no indication that food is a problem.
Not even, because that's what some people ask us. And a lot of people comes, we don't know because it comes from the States or other countries. Should we be that afraid, about hormones in the food? Do you think, Aruba?
I cannot say exactly because I
Or something.
also don't
I
know
think you're
what's...
implying. I
Okay.
think you're implying, for example, when people buy chicken breast or something,
Yeah.
and they
Yeah.
have hormone,
Yeah.
they look bigger than they're supposed to be. So you hear that they're injected
Yeah,
with
in the
hormones,
meat.
so
Yeah.
their
For
growth,
example. Yeah.
and
Milk,
does
all the other things.
that
Yeah.
affect
I
us?
think in
Eating that.
I think it everything has effect, but I think that the effect is not big enough or high enough to cause a problem with a lot of people. And I think the problems that can be caused are people that are more prone or have issues with their health. The same for the food and the chicken breast is antibiotics that are used.
Mhm.
We know that it's not healthy what's going on, that it's bad. It's also proven that it creates resistance for bacteria. But that there's evidence that it disrupts your hormones in such a way that you will have complaints. I think the chance is very small because, like I said, people of our age, we rely on only a couple of those hormones if they're disrupted to have real complaints. And most of them we will not notice, or it will take a long time before we notice that something's wrong.
So what is the biggest disruptor here on the island, if you notice, in the 2 years that you're here working here?
For the hormones?
Yeah.
What I do notice, to be honest, when I came here, I was worried that I wouldn't have enough patients. And now my outpatient clinic is daily filled with analysis or questions about hormones. And there are enough of them that truly have something for me to treat them or analyze them. And like I said in the beginning, Aruba is a small
But I believe
island.
in a previous
So I do see
conversation,
more.
Yeah, but you actually told me that you could break it down into 3 sections, right? The type of patients you see.
Mm-hmm.
And those where you have rare diseases, you have...
Yeah. And so you have the rare diseases, like the problems that are caused if the pea-like structure is dysfunctioning. And the other...
Could you give examples of that?
So those are the thyroid or the adrenaline gland, or if people are very young that do not produce enough growth hormone, get very short.
Mm-hmm.
Or if in our age the pituitary gland, the pea-like structure, produces too much growth hormone, we have a change in our appearance. The growth hormones make your hands bigger, make your nose bigger,
So do you see that on Aruba?
I have 3 patients with that.
Okay.
And to come back to the other question, Aruba is a small island, and I wouldn't expect to see that. But I have 3 patients, and that disease is called acromegaly, and it comes forth in like 1 to 3 in a million people.
Okay.
And I have 3 Aruban people who have that.
I think that's very interesting because I hear a lot about rare diseases that it doesn't come for in one in 100,000, one in and from what I gather, on Aruba we do have more than what you would expect for such a small island. So I think that's very interesting.
Yeah, because coming back to you're saying you came here and you didn't expect to get a lot of patients, and I was like, okay, it's for me it's new this, because I'm thinking when I talked about the hormone, I think, well, when I talk with other people, they have a lot of them have like experienced something with their hormonal. They are saying it or they're feeling it, or they went to other specialists or abroad, etc. And you said, no, I didn't expect a lot, and now you say, okay, I have my clinic is full or something. Yeah. So, and you say, okay, Aruba's small and it's rare. How should I see this? Do we have more problems here then?
I think I'm not the only specialist who would say that on their field. There
That's
are
true.
other specialists that would say the same thing. That there are more people here with certain rare diseases than you would expect. I don't know what the
But
cause is.
nobody investigates that.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
actually, I
Yeah,
do.
you know.
I've heard that Caribbean people from Caribbean descent do have a genetic. They're inclined for certain diseases, but we're going to do an episode on that.
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
gonna get
I think because we have
being very
Because-
careful here, but also families that marry in families, that's certainly something to consider as a risk factor.
okay, also.
But
We were going back to the patients. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We had 3 patients. So we're one talking about rare diseases and the
Yes.
other 2 groups.
Yes.
The other group, that's, let's say, the groups are, the rare diseases is most likely 50 to 60% of what I see. And then another 30%, I would say, or almost 35, something like that, is diabetes. And the other small group is the transgender patients.
So I'd like to talk about both of these groups because I think it's very interesting. About diabetes, so that's like you said how many?
30%.
30%. So it's a third of what you see, and
But I see.
what do you see exactly?
So I think what you first have to explain is that there are 2 types of diabetes mainly, type 1 and type 2, and the type we're seeing more is the type 2 diabetes because that's related to obesity. Why? Normally you produce insulin to regulate your sugar after a meal, for example. But if you're getting too heavy, then your insulin is less sensitive because of all the fat cells. So at a certain point, it isn't sufficient enough, the insulin, to regulate your sugar levels in the blood anymore, and that's why I get diabetes. Type 1 is something very different. That's that your immune system attacks or makes your pancreas at a certain point produce less insulin. And you have a shortage of insulin. And the type 2 is that you have insulin, but it's not sensitive enough anymore because it's counteracted by the fat cells, to say it simply. The consequence is that if you lose weight, there's a very, very big chance, almost 100%, that you can turn back your diabetes. And that's something I try to explain to patients because then they aren't my patient anymore. They're treated, and it's important to know that because then you know what your goal is. And the diabetes type 2 that's related to obesity, like I just said, isn't a problem only on Aruba. It's a worldwide problem.
Yes.
But what does it do with your what do you see then? What does it do with your hormones? What do you feel or?
What do you mean when your sugar's too high? What the complaints are, for
Yeah.
example? Okay.
Yeah.
Now one is that people say they're tired, but that can also be because they're out of shape, right? So it doesn't have to be that your sugar is the problem. But let's say the sugar, because it starts slowly, it isn't like you're going to get it from day one. You're going to notice it when it reaches a certain level that the body induces changes. One of those changes are if the glucose is high enough, the body notices that and says, hey, this can't continue like this. So the body tries to excrete the glucose, meaning you're going to pee it out, and you're peeing frequently. But you're not only losing glucose, you're losing fluids, meaning you're getting dehydrated, you're getting thirsty. So one simple sign people classically can tell is that they're peeing a lot and they're thirsty.
Yeah. No, I know that, but
Yeah,
with your
but-
hormones, I don't know exactly.
Yeah, I think what
Yeah.
you're trying to say is,
Yeah.
why would they go to an endocrinologist for
Oh, okay.
diabetes?
Yes.
Because you also have other
So
other
the most
specialists.
Yes.
patients are treated by the house doctor.
Yeah.
Because with good lifestyle changes and
Mhm.
basic medication like metformin that helps with the sensitivity of the insulin, you can treat a lot of patients already. And sometimes that's not enough. I do not do anything special. The first thing I do, what when patients come to me with type 2 diabetes, is talk about the lifestyle and talk about the essence of changing that. And I've listened to one of your podcasts before. You already talked about things that you can do with programs and that's the kind of things. That's true. Information is always good, and schooling about stuff is always good. But I think the biggest factor that there is that people are stuck in with themselves in a certain point to make a change, and it's different for everyone. It takes someone more time and the other less time, and it also depends on what else is going in their life to make that change. The only thing I'm doing is getting to know my patient and try to help them guide it through that.
But I had a question about that because I'm glad you actually listened to our podcast because we talked about that the government is coming with a prevention plan. We still don't know what it's all about, but we hear, for example, today was One Healthy Day Festival, which is great. They gave a lot of information. And I saw a lot of people out there today, so that was wonderful. But the idea is to come up with an obesity clinic. And I was wondering, what would your role be in this? Would you have a role? Because I read an interview with an endocrinologist in Rotterdam, Lisbeth van Rossum. I don't know if you know her.
Yeah, I know her.
Okay. And she actually did a study. She works at the obesity clinic because she studies the link how we are genetically inclined for the sensitivity for I think the cortisol hormone, which means we are inclined to retain to make this hormone, which makes us become fat. So I was wondering, are we Aerobians inclined for this? Is this the reason we say we're thick or we're big boned or we're deaky or something like that? So what are your thoughts on this?
I don't know exactly what she concluded, but I think I can understand what the message is in what you're saying. To be clear, when you are obese, you're producing more stress hormone, more cortisol. So that's an effect of the obesity. To say it's a cause, that's very difficult. Because what was there first?
Yeah, because I was about to ask that because it wasn't clear to me from the studies that I read and from her interview, because it is a chicken and an egg kind of story.
Yeah,
because
I think there can be a lot of factors why obesity is kept, why a person has problems losing weight. Indeed, if the adrenal system is agitated or triggered to be in a higher state, which it can and is in obesity, it can be a factor of why it's difficult to lose weight. But there are other factors that are much more important.
do you think we're genetically inclined? Do you think that it's our genetic structure?
Yeah.
would have an impact on the way we deal with these hormones?
I think the answer is more simple. I think you always have a choice in what you're doing with your life and body. And I think the most people that are obese is the cause of too much food and less exercise. It's an calorie plus
I want to
state.
challenge that a little bit. I'm on
I'm not saying
terrain. I don't want to challenge a specialist, but
Well,
I would.
actually,
No, no, no.
I want to
do.
challenge it because
I do.
let's say for this, if you are stressed, you have more stress hormone, and then you're going to eat more unhealthy stuff.
Yes.
That is a lot of time. No, it happens.
That is how
you
usually-
eat
And then you-
more, but not. I think of because the stress hormone is too high. I think because of psychological factor.
Yeah, but that's
And
what I
there's
want to
one-
go.
Or there's one
Yeah.
other simple thing.
Yeah.
When I talk to patients about losing weight, and they truly try, there's another factor that comes up which makes it very difficult for them to do that. The price of healthy food.
Mhm.
To
Yeah,
buy
yeah.
vegetables and greens is very expensive.
That is true.
That's what we mentioned also, but I would like to zoom into the psychologist, the psychology, like you said. Yeah, because if you hormones are in a disbalance, you also get mentally you get problems. You get disorientated. You can get those are also the effects of a disbalance in hormones. True or not? Yeah.
But which one do you mean?
What I mean is that, for example,
Or in what situation do you
no, the person that is like, for example, that's overweight, and if maybe it's not only the factor that he needs help, with this kind of, the food, getting cheaper, healthy food, but also like the psychology, like because maybe he feels himself like, I don't know where to start,
Yeah.
but that comes also because he has a lot of more stress hormones in the way that he thinks, less like positively, and maybe also not that motivated because the situation physically.
I think you can compare it, or I can explain it by comparing it to your conditioning, what happens when you're overweight. For example, you're overweight, but you try to make a change, right? And you try to exercise, but you get tired very fast. And then people think, I can't do this. That's the bigger reason, or the bigger psychological factor, that someone is unable to make the change. It's not that your stress hormone is so high that that's the reason why it's not happening.
But it adds to it.
No, the stress hormone is high because the body is in a higher state of stress because of the obesity.
Okay.
So that's why there's more cortisol produced. It's the effect of the obesity, but it's not that is now the main reason or cause that someone's unable to make a change. I think there are a lot of factors going on at the same time, which make it a real difficult task to lose weight. And I think
that's what we talked about,
Yeah.
because it's very complex. It's like you said, it's also emotional, it's physical,
Yeah.
and it has to do with outside factors like money and it is. But I actually want to go back to my question, because the reason why I'm asking this is because I really want to know. I don't know, because she actually said that she's studying that people are inclined to sensitivity to, I think, glucocorticoid. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right.
Yeah, you're pronouncing it.
And which is a steroid hormone, which is different from the stress. So that the patients that she sees in Rotterdam, they also verbalize their frustration that they are trying to do everything from the training schedule to eating right to everything, and they still can't seem to lose the weight. So they're trying to see if this is genetically inclined. That's why I'm asking, do you think this is something that Because that's different from stress hormones.
Yeah, I think what's that about is very rare causes of obesity that are hormonally linked.
Okay.
For example, you have diseases where your cortisol is produced too much, and that results in weight gain. And that disease is called Cushing's disease. But that's something very rare that happens.
Do you see that on Aruba?
I think I have...
Of course,
Three-
we're on Aruba. We have all the rare diseases.
For the
three-
island of rare
yeah,
diseases.
3 or 4 patients with that.
Okay.
And that's also something very rare. I think it comes by 1 in every 500,000 to 1 million people.
Yeah, but if you look at other things that are, I think a lot of women my age see more. I don't know why I get them, but I get them on social media a lot. It's like losing weight because you're hormone type 1, and then you have to eat this, and you have to do that, and you have the hormone type 2, and the hormone. What is that? Have you heard about that?
No.
It's more. I think if you're coming into, they say because of course when you're a certain age, and especially for women in the menopause, you lose the estrogen.
Yeah.
And then of course you're lesser, and you're gaining weight. That's true.
Yeah, I think what you need to realize is you can see it when you're in your 20s. Everything's easy, right? Nothing's really taking an effort on your life. But when you're into your 30s and going further, then you see everything comes difficult. Your metabolism slows down. And if you look at pictures from you and your friends, you can see how skinny everyone was before and slowly getting more weight over the years. And if you ask people, then they really, most of them didn't make any real changes, but still they're gaining weight. And that has to do with your metabolism slowing down as you get older. And there's ways of increasing that. And one of those is what's central is exercising to keep the metabolism high. If you're only going to diet, that's not going to help. What that does actually, it slows down your own metabolism. So dieting, that's why people say I eat less, I skip this and that, I'm still not losing weight. That's because the body realizes you're not getting enough food or what you're used to, and it slows your metabolism down so you don't lose weight. It's a survival mechanism.
But do you have hormone types 1, and is it something like that? I mean, I don't know if have you seen.
No idea what
You never have seen that? No. I mean, you have hormone type
woman,
1, and then you have to eat this, and you exercise that, or maybe.
I know what you mean. Yeah,
But
yeah.
is that fiction, or is that
Yes.
something?
Yes,
Oh.
I don't believe in that. I believe if you have a healthy, normal diet, there's no reason and there's no way of influencing your hormones with eating more of this or less of that. I don't believe that.
Okay.
Okay, because we talked about food and what could be harmful, but you're saying that there are no foods that we can actually eat or consume that actually helps our hormones stay in balance.
No, it's
Nothing?
Not even
No.
like, because I have a list like for I will
No,
explain something to people.
But
I have
it comes down to eating healthy.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But for example, for me, they say like I have the Graves' disease that makes my thyroid run faster. So 2 questions about that, because that has a link again with the mentally and emotional and again who you are. But first, I'm just like I read, okay, if I eat like for example soya, it will make, it runs fast, and my thyroid runs faster if I eat too much soya. Is that true?
No, that I can break it down to science. If you eat a lot of iodine, it can make your thyroid faster. So it's more the question.
So it's about doses?
It's about
See,
what's
Leo had to
in.
be here to say something about that.
It's about what are you exactly getting in, and you need to realize it takes a lot more than one meal or a couple of meals to induce a change.
So if I eat like exaggerated, like
if
then
you eat like
for example,
exaggerated amounts of iodine, it will result in a thyroid working too fast, and eventually, if it's high enough, it can stop the thyroid even. But I don't think it's possible to get that by eating the local food. You have to ingest iodine yourself.
Okay, well, that's kind. But the other one is, I just told that also, I was diagnosed with a burnout for a long time, for months, because, the doctor didn't want to check my blood. Something like, I think maybe you have to start with it, but I don't know. He didn't do that. And then he said, no, you have to do this. And then I got that worse that he said at a certain point also, oh, no, I think besides rest and everything, you have to go to a psychologist because, you don't, at a certain point, your brains doesn't work anymore. You get fog, you get you cannot concentrate, you get very even you can say depressed from it.
Yeah.
So, and I was thinking, you see a lot of focus nowadays on the mental health of people. What is the role of the hormones in that?
It's very central because, like you said, if you have a dysregulation only of your thyroid, for example, it has mental effects. So you need to explain that also to patients, what's going on, and guide them also through those steps. Mostly when you explain that and you're treating patients and they are getting better, you see that it's stepwise going good. But some people, because the illness can be, it can be a while before it's treated, there can be some kind of delay for many reasons, then people can need more help.
But how can you, I myself was misdiagnosed because there was also not, this is the importance also, if you have a house doctor that knows you. I had a replacement and then my regular came back and she noticed right away that something was wrong with me. But I've read about it. It's very common to mix up burnout with a thyroid disease. But I was thinking also people that get the same complaints, fogginess, cannot concentrate, but depressive. How when do they? How is that common, that diagnosis thing, that people are being pushed into the psychologist?
Perhaps you can ask Shabit. Perhaps you can tell us, have you had patients like Sharina that come to you with a previous diagnosis of burnout? Do you have more? Do you see that pattern?
Yes. Like I said before, I think there's now a lot of more awareness to think about the thyroid, and you see it in a medical history that someone has burnout years ago, and then now it's a thyroid problem, and then the patient also asks, is that what happened before? I cannot say because we did not measure the thyroid function at that point, but it's very possible.
But I think it's interesting because to me, I'm not really super familiar with hormones before I prepared for this episode. So to me, thyroid, when people talk about they have problems with thyroid, I mostly associated this with if you have it high, then I think you lose weight. And if you have it slower, then you gain weight. So I never related it with burnout or fogginess or tiredness. It was more about people who changed appearance. Then probably something about thyroid. Yeah. So do you have that a lot, that people have a misconception of what the issues are when you have a disbalance in thyroid?
The complaints are very broad.
Okay.
And
could you
so for example, if you have a fast working thyroid that's really fast, because even if it's slightly elevated, some people don't notice it at all.
Okay.
They can only have one complaint, for example, that when they do physical work, they notice they get tired faster than before. But otherwise, they don't notice anything. But let's say there's a certain point reached that the thyroid level is very high, then people have symptoms, and the symptoms that come out mostly then are that they lose weight, that they have heart palpitations, that they feel very nervous, and some also shake in their hands.
I can vouch for that. I remember that my doctor said don't work, but of course, I went to work. So I was a little bit like, how do you say, patient facioso. But I went to a press conference and I tried to write my name and then I had to do literally like this, but I didn't. That still, and that was the last time I worked, I think, in that sickness. But it's very rough. What also, and I think, we're going almost to the closure, and I think we have so much to ask. But
because I
for me,
even asked about happy hormones or about transgender.
No. But for me, the thing is that what is the cause? I thought also something must have happened. Something very bad, or
Like
I
an
don't know,
infection
or maybe I was
that
something in my
triggered-
family.
Yeah.
But I've also read, is that true that you can get it from simply a cold virus or something, that your thyroid is off?
Yeah, that's so the different reasons why a thyroid can work fast. The two sections are that it's something that's persistent and something that's temporary. And when you, for example, get a virus infection, it can also inflammate the thyroid, which would make it a temporary work faster, and that's because of the thyroid cells are being destroyed, so the thyroid hormone is being released more. And mostly we give patients medicine to help then regulate the symptoms of the heart palpitations and the thrilling of the hands. But we do not give active medicine like we do with the Graves' disease, because it's temporary and it goes away.
Yeah, but just to know that even from a cold virus, but because now we're talking about the coronavirus, even I think long COVID is also a virus. You can get, of course, also problem. You can get problems with your thyroid, and maybe you feel. But it's. I think it's very important for me. It was very important that if you have something like that, and especially you're thinking, okay, it's sometimes very hard because maybe if you are in a work and you're very stressed out, and your doctor is saying it is a burnout, and you don't think about your thyroid. I do think that's a thing that's something to check on sometimes.
Yeah, if you have a complaint like a lot of tiredness or symptoms you think that are related to the thyroid, and you go to the house doctor and a lot of things are tested and they're good, and you keep on having complaints, it's in your right and a good suggestion to ask, did you test the thyroid function?
Yeah, and this is something not only for women, because a lot of time we are talking about hormones. Everybody thinks, okay, something women diseases or whatever. This is for men, women, everybody.
Women have it more often, but it's not exclusive to women.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we haven't talked about what the happy hormones or the transgender, the other group that you're talking about.
Yes.
I do think that we have to invite him back, don't you think?
I think so, because we haven't finished everything that we wanted to talk about.
Is there something specifically you really want to say?
I do want to say something, because I started off with I wasn't sure if I had enough patients here, but I do have enough patients, and I wasn't aware, or I wasn't sure in how then the possibilities were here to treat them. But we on Aruba in the hospital, we function above a general hospital in Holland for the endocrine diseases. That's because we can do tests here to optimally measure your hormones, which they do not do in every hospital in Holland. And those tests, I can interpret it. Those tests are done successfully because of the nurses who school themselves into this, and
Are they specialized nurses?
No,
because
they're
I know for
sisters on the
nephrology
ward.
you have.
No,
Okay.
there's just sisters on the ward who've gotten education from me and the protocols, and they know how to do it. That makes it easy to have these tests, because then they're kind of streamlined now. And we have the laboratory and the pharmacy that also works together, providing the medicines that are needed and the many blood samples that need to be analyzed.
So basically, on the island, we can actually treat any problems that we have with hormones.
Yeah, and we have through my old professors and from the LUMC where I'm from. I
The
can
LMU's what? The what?
LUMC is
That's
Leids
related,
Universitair Medisch Centrum.
Okay.
I have monthly discussions about patients here, and I can send them results. I can send them MRIs from the pituitary to discuss in their group there, and then we get an academic opinion about what's really going on. And with that opinion, I can go to patients and say, these are your choices, how to treat this, and we can give the patient more power in what their wishes and how to treat them, because there are a lot of options in how to treat certain diseases now, and I think that's important for patients to realize. And
so you have to ask also as a patient.
Yeah, or
more.
there any other. You can always. It's very important as a patient to ask questions, and one of those questions is this the only explanation? Is this the only?
Are there any
treatment?
other options?
Yeah, I think that's also always good to clarify for yourself.
But how do, that's the only question we have, of course, a system that you have the huisartsen, the Dr. die Kaas. Is there a good relationship then that it comes to you? I mean, you know what I mean?
In my opinion,
Yeah?
Yes. Otherwise, I wouldn't have so much referrals. I think now, since they noticed I was here, my colleagues also said we have much more questions about hormones, and I get them specifically. And like I said, most of them aren't related to a real hormonal problem, but I can analyze it the right way and give patients a clear explanation that it's not hormonal or what it may be about, and steer them in the direction that...
Can you give an example of this?
Yeah, for one, a lot of men are referred to my outpatient clinic to assess the testosterone production because they think it's not sufficient enough. And
Okay, so they don't feel man enough.
no, yeah, they have complaints of testosterone deficiency, meaning erectile dysfunction, for example, is a main complaint.
So that's something that you see a lot on the island?
No, I see the question a lot, but when I analyze it, when it's how it's supposed to, because that's very difficult, because the hormones aren't, if you have to measure it, it's very specific. You cannot, for example, test the testosterone every hour of the day. It has to be very early in the morning because then it's the highest. Then you know what it is. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you have to also measure other proteins to measure then or calculate the right amount. And then I say to those patients, the chance of this being a disease or a shortage of your testosterone is very rare, but I will look into it.
Okay.
And I make those
so don't be afraid, just go, because if there's something wrong, then it's, of course...
there is a complaint.
Yeah.
The question is, what is the cause? And what my role is to figure out if it's hormonal or not. And that's what I tell the patient and the house doctor again.
At least then you know that it's not the hormones.
Yeah.
And then you can go on the rest of the quest. Yeah. Well, thank you so much.
No problem.
We are in overtime, but I don't know. You brought something. Can we do that still, Jeff? Jeff, nos pagas ainda? See, hey, he's thumbs up. It's a thumbs up.
No, because usually we have a section, a wine section with
Leo.
Where Leo actually gives tips. We don't have wine today, but it so happens that today when I was at the One Healthy.
Oh no, that's the wrong one. Just want to say that we are very sad that Leo's not here.
For those of you, that was a very sad puppy.
Yeah, we have this one also. That's for you.
So I was at the One Healthy Festival, and what struck me was I bought bread, and I was told that because I said I don't want to really buy a lot of bread because I really love that bread, but it's not good for me. And then they told me, well, actually, it's sourdough bread. So it has probiotic, and that's good for your gut. So it gives you happy hormones. So that's why I'm like, hey, we're doing a podcast about hormones. So I don't know.
That is like something else. No, but you told that the food is not that.
It doesn't matter.
No,
Why is that? Why are people thinking like
what
that?
I think is if you're eating something you really enjoy or want to, it gives off other chemical signals that make you happy. But those are not the hormone systems we just discussed.
Okay.
Those are other things in the brain that give off the happy feeling. So that's more of the neuro system than the, what I would say, central endocrine system which we just discussed just now.
Okay.
It's the same signals that are produced when you have a smoke or a glass of wine you really want.
Yeah, I get that. But it's not that. That's what I just want to debunk then. That doesn't matter what you actually, of course you have to eat like healthy, like, but that counts for everything.
Yeah.
But there's no specific things that are just influencing your hormones. Okay.
No, it's...
Okay, wow. just want to show something. Can I do that? Okay. Look at that. Oh, it's there. No, I'm not gonna. So I was showing something. I'm gonna do it back. Yeah, there you are.
So about bread,
But she's saying that the bread is good for your hormones.
because it actually helps the gut, so that makes me happy.
Yeah,
And,
okay.
and I thought, well, I do like the bread, so it does
Okay.
make me a bit.
Okay, I'll do it up. Yeah.
So it did make me happy. So
Yeah, the question again is which hormones, and mine focuses on the hormone systems of the P structure,
Yeah.
and there are other neuro hormones, to say it like that, that are produced when you have something you really.
Yeah,
want.
when you like that can also be an addiction sometimes.
Yeah.
So okay, what are we going to taste? This is we're not sponsored, no. We
we're
just
not
got this, no?
sponsored. No, we just got it today.
Yeah, and this is from Zaida Everon.
From Titupan.
Yeah, Titupan, and she's in North, I think there, Indiana.
And she was today at
Otrobana di cammina na, quanto
Gasparito?
Gasparito, yeah.
They're in that section.
Yes.
So
Have you know about this?
No.
She's a bakery. I know her from something else. I know her from mountain biking. She was a very good one.
also a biology
Teacher. Yes, that's
so she
also.
talks about the chemical structure of bread.
Yeah, but she's now a bakery, she has now a bakery. She's also making a lot of other bread, like Christmas bread. I know, and I don't know, stokbrood, pain.
Oh,
And we're gonna taste it. So, do you like sour bread? Zuurdesembrood?
Zuurdesembrood
Yeah.
or
I should say.
roggebrood, rye bread.
I normally don't eat much bread, but
Okay.
So you don't want to be happy?
I'm happy. I'm happy to be here. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna try it. You can try
Okay,
it, and
but
then we're
wait,
gonna.
Now I want for you to actually show it.
Yes.
Can you show it? How can I do the?
Yeah.
Yeah. So can you see it?
You can see it.
See it? No.
It's there.
Wait.
There it is.
There you go. So we have a rye bread and we have sourdough bread.
Okay.
So I put some oil and my personal favorite, oil with balsamico and a little bit of black pepper.
Okay, yeah, you
So-
can start with the gas, then I finish off. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you for your explanation. I think we
you so
haven't
much.
touched
problem.
we haven't touched the other topics, but you're coming back. Thank you, Melissa, for the bread. Thank you also, Zaida. And next week, I think, then we are three again. Next week, what do we have? We have the new
We have
nós está bem back na pavimento.
assim, nós the switchback.
Nós tinha lei de preparação, of at least de intenção, of como me se wakker.
concepto, segundo mim.
Concepto acaba.
Of ja, minus zit een concepto, so en not set in stone.
Ok. E tinha a ver com medio, não? E a prensa, dus tópico não que está cerca nos coração.
Yes.
Lei die tocante media, mi que sa media raad, algo assim, pero at least kunnen kier het worden regla. Então nos quer invitar se to hena, mas não sei se nos logra ainda.
Nós está pending.
Nós está pending, pero o tópico tá bem assim.
É um tópico interessante.
Sim. Sim. Me te quero nos também papi um tiki também é liberdade de prensa.
Yes.
Mesa hai um tiki algo também se man passar. Então eu begin acercar-me banda que tabisa ya, bosa mesa com e meio nanta. Anto de outra banda bisa okay governo bosa. Não mister não mister actua asina, bosa também contra nos democracia. Me te quero nos também wak.
Então tópico me te quero que tem nos podcasts nos po wak di turbanda. Dus ora é algo que nos po echt deep into it.
Well, dankie. Se gente tem mais perguntas over die tópico aqui, sempre por mail na Cacho Spierto @gmail.com.
And before we go, I actually would like to ask you if people would like to find more about hormones. Do you have a specific website that people can go to, or something that they can get more information on?
I think
this type of subject.
It's very difficult on the internet to get the right information because you have very broad information, and if you really have a hormonal disease, it varies a lot in its outing and the causes. So it's difficult for a patient or a person to do their own research. You can definitely look up things
But you do know that we people love Dr. Google.
No, but
So
then what I would say is you go with that information to your house doctor. And
okay.
And he or she should help you guide in if it's really an issue or not. And then if there's doubt, maybe do an analysis in the first step.
Yeah, okay, I understand, because it's so broad.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you again. Okay, Melissa, te otro semana.
Yes.
Ocho, ya domingo trove di 5 edición di Cacho Spierto. Y mas danke pa awe.
Okay,
Ayo.
bye.